I'm talking today to Jonathan Donner from Microsoft Research India about a piece of research called Public Access Private Mobile, the interplay of shared access and the mobile internet for teenagers in Cape Town. Jonathan, why did you carry out the study and who's it looking at?
Well, my co-researcher, Marion Walton, and I are working as part of a pretty big project funded through the University of Washington. The larger project is called the Global Impact Study. And the framing there is it's a multi-country, multi-year initiative to try to figure out what's the evidence that public access is helping the sort of development initiatives around the world. So that's got university researchers from 5, 6, 7 countries looking at a combination of qual and quant. They're doing surveys and they're doing research.
So which countries is it looking at?
It's Bangladesh, Chile, Lithuania, the Philippines, and we've got a South African piece.
Yes.
And the piece we have here is specifically on the interplay of mobile phones, and particularly mobile internet, and public access. It's kind of the sort of counterfactual to, well, if public access is so important, is it still going to be important as people are getting phones?
Mobile phones with internet
have internet on
Yeah.
them. So the funders, which is the Canadian International Development Research Center and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, have commissioned this work through the University of Washington, and then here in South Africa through the University of Cape Town, where my colleague Marion is based. So we took up this question around mobile internet because we just, we see it in our research every day. That it's remarkable to see who's got the internet in their pocket, Google in their pocket, as they say, Mix It in their pocket, and the ways in which
and Mix It's a social network here, isn't it? Yeah.
And the way that the teenagers are able to make a lot out of a little with that connection is intriguing to us. So my work at Microsoft Research has always been on these questions of mobile use in the developing world, so I was sort of gravitated to this question. And so the things I'm talking about today aren't kind of Microsoft policy implications or anything, but it's stuff that I'm fascinated
Wider
about.
questions in that sense. And how representative do you think the low-income neighbourhoods in Cape Town that you chose in South Africa are of low-income neighbourhoods elsewhere in the developed world?
In some ways, they're not, and that's on purpose, because penetration of mobile internet-enabled devices is higher here than it is in similar neighborhoods, elsewhere on the continent, for example, or certainly in India, where I've also done a bunch of work. But that allows us to see what's coming, sort of coming down the pike as it's playing out already here in the neighborhoods of Cape Town. So the fact that somebody who's 15 years old and is of very, very modest means and isn't getting the education from, getting the access they need from schools or something, has this phone already, allows us to do sort of advanced theorization about that. So it's a good place to do work because it's not representative. But I think that the patterns we see here and the way we're going to frame things as being not a kind of an either or, not this notion of, we don't need the PC anymore, let's just look at mobiles, but rather look at the interplay between these and the way there's a sort of a repertoire that the teams develop. We can see that repertoire manifest here before we could almost anywhere else.
And who did you talk to for the research?
We worked mostly with teen users in both libraries and telecentres, so sort of venues that they would not pay for, and some venues that they would pay for in low-income neighborhoods in Cape Town. So all Western Cape.
Okay. And what were the overall findings of the research?
Well, across the three, we use sort of 3 ways to get at the findings, and then I'll actually pass over to my colleague here in a minute. We started by just talking to frontline venue operators, the people who sort of checked you in and were responsible for a small venue, and they sort of asked them their kind of sense of how people are using mobile phones and particularly mobile internet in their venues. We got a lot about rules from them. Then we did a deep dive with videotaped interviews and qualitative sort of task analysis with teenagers, about 50 teenagers across these 6 major sort of concentrated sites. And then we buttressed that with more of a questionnaire of a couple hundred people, mix of teens and adults. And so when we put those 3 sets of findings together, it allows us to say some things about that repertoire and sort of think about some implications for, maybe how generally the venues could do a better job welcoming the phone into the venue than they're doing right now.
And acknowledging that the 2 exist.
Yes. Yeah, which they don't do a very good job of right now.
Yeah, because the telecentres don't allow the mobiles, and the school libraries don't allow.
You go and you see signs.
Yes.
The signage is great. We took a bunch of pictures of the signs.
Yeah.
Of just the simple stuff around don't talk on your phone makes some sense from sort of silence is gold and spirit of the library thing. But the way they've carried that into don't you dare plug your phone into the computer. Don't log on and use our airtime, kind of thing. And then just more generally, it's not just the rules. It's sort of a spirit of, I think, in some cases, sort of a mistrust that not everybody had of the phone, but some people definitely did. And just one follow up on that, which is. When we were in some cyber cafes, which we did in the early round, we saw quite a different pattern where not all, but some of the cyber cafes would for a nominal fee train you on how to configure your phone for data access, for example, or help you get an email address, or help you set up Facebook on your phone. And that, in a way, is going a little further towards embracing the phone as something that the kids are going to have to use. Yeah. But we don't want to frame this as, let's help the libraries and these venues train the kids up on the phone so that they're never going to have to come to the library again. Because we don't think we're going to see that, because there's things about the way teens are asked to do homework, asked to produce documents and all that, where currently the phones they have in their pocket aren't
capable of doing that
yet.
Yeah.